A pleasant afternoon, everyone. I'm teacher Ichi Zamora. I hope everyone is safe and well. Thank you for joining me in this webinar entitled Huddle Up, Cultivating Relevant Health and Wellbeing Practices at Home. I'd also like to thank Rex Academy for giving me this opportunity to huddle up with you. Huddle up is usually used in sports as a strategy to discuss and plan for the next play. That is what we're going to do this afternoon in response to COVID-19 and the and the impact that it has brought into our lives, particularly our health and well-being. In that aspect, I prepared several activities for you to share and take on and to appreciate and understand the value of health and well-being at home or health and well-being practices. So let us start off with this video. This is part of the physical well-being. Let me see. All right. So let's go forward. These are the essential questions that we're going to answer this afternoon. What is health and well-being? Why is there a need for cultivating health and well-being at home? Who are involved? When do you teach health and well-being? How can you further enhance health and well-being at home? These are some of the questions that we're going to try to answer this afternoon. And another set of questions is how can you effectively measure health, knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors practices at home? How can you develop and implement an efficient lesson plan for health education at home? As I was preparing this webinar, the aims that I came across are to assist teachers like you in helping parents, capacitating parents on how to teach health and well-being at home. And then for the parents to teach their children proper health and well-being practices also. So before that, let us find out and let's get to know the key terms about health and well-being. Of course, what is health? What is well-being? What are these factors? What are the protective factors that affect both health and well-being? And how do life skills help in developing health and well-being of children, learners, and adults? And of course, we need values. How do values come into play in helping mold health and well-being, positive health and well-being among learners, children, and adults, whether they are in school or at home? First, you'll see a slide here, an illustration of what health is. Actually, when you see the slide, it is a person, every one of us has this health. It is comprised of intellectual, our minds, how we view things, our physical aspect, our bodies, and our social culture aspect, how we deal with people and how we value our own culture, and of course, environmental. How do we take care of the environment and how does environment affect our health? Occupational, it simply means valuing our work, putting premium on what we do. And of course, it's very essential, the spiritual health. It is composed of the values and our relationship, our spiritual relationship with God. And of course, emotional. These are the feelings that make us human, whether it's negative or positive. So basically, health is, we have this health. It is based on, or it came from our genetics. We inherited some of them, and some of them are uh, are acquired. So now then, what is well-being? In different definitions, well-being is number one, condition of being contented, healthy, and successful. It is a state in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to her or his community. And the third one is the general evaluation of one's quality of life. So when we say health, we have these 8 dimensions. But when we talk about well-being is the essence. It's a quality of life wherein all the dimensions are connected, all the dimensions are properly nurtured for us to have a good well-being. So there's a relationship between health and well-being. If you have good health, you have good well-being. If you have good well-being, you have health. So, in a nutshell, health and well being as being the result or combination of physical, social, and emotional factors. So, they are affected by the protective factors. This is what health education is for. No? We need to increase the protective factors. What are these protective factors? These are the ways that a person might behave and the characteristics of the environment in which a person lives that promote health, safety, and well-being. These are the things that we need. This, like strong family bond, parental engagement in your child's life, clear parental expectation and consequences, academic success, strong bonds with the school, community, church, and others, and of course, intact values for us not to partake into inappropriate behavior. So, in this essence, at this time, we need to increase the protective factors. If we connect it with COVID-19, we need to listen, we need to discipline ourselves. We need to wash our hands, wear masks, and observe physical and social distancing. Those are the protective factors. Those are the things that um, promote our health and well-being. As opposed to protective factors, another aspect of affecting well-being is the risk factors. This is the total opposite of protective factors. These are the harmful things that we do to ourselves that increase likelihood of illness, injury, premature death, or destroy even the quality of life. So, for example, if you don't wear mask, you can get sick and you can infect other people. For instance, you take a cigarette, you can exacerbate your COVID-19. Or if you sleep late, you feel lethargic the whole day, or if you skip a meal, those are the risk factors, or eating salty and sugary foods that affects the health. So other risk factors also include the environment. If it's dirty, it's noisy, it has a direct impact on your health. And some of the risk factors also are chaotic environment, ineffective parenting, and so on and so forth. So it's either in health and well-being to flourish or to cultivate, we need to increase the protective factors and decrease the harmful or risk factors. How do we do that? So life skills are the answer. They are the abilities, behaviors that the individuals need to adapt and deal effectively on the demands and challenges of life. So what are these? There are self-awareness, empathy, critical thinking, creative thinking, decision making, problem solving, effective communication, interpersonal relationship, coping with stress, coping with emotion. Self-awareness is being knowing yourself, knowing your limitations, your strengths and weaknesses. Empathy is being able to be sensitive to others' needs and interests. Critical thinking, you're analyzing things before doing an action or even deciding an action. Creative thinking, it's thinking out of the box, thinking of innovative things. And decision making, you're weighing pros and cons before you decide. Problem solving, it's a systematic approach. Everybody needs, I think, in the today we need all of these for life skills. Effective communication, whether it's nonverbal or verbal, getting the message across. Interpersonal relationship, it's your relationship with other people. And of course, there are a lot of stressors today, especially with COVID. We need to cope with stress. And coping with stress is just looking for alternatives, positive alternatives, appropriate alternatives to cope with stress or managing the stress. And of course, with stress, you also cope with emotion, the negative emotion. I know it's normal to feel negative emotions, but let us not dwell on it by using the proper life skills. So, in summary, we have the health, we have the well being. When they're connected, we are in one, but the risk factors and the protective factors affect our health and well being, whether it's good or bad. But with, of course, the health of life skills, we're able to maintain and manage our health problems, our health and well being. Of course, now that we're done with the concepts, let us apply them now. So I prepared an activity. I hope that you'll participate virtually. It's called rank order. Rank order is a process wherein you're given choices, as you see in the screen. There's a situation and there are three opposing or different choices. Now, with well-being, we are encouraged to think and to make choices based on our preferences. Now, I'll give you time so you can get a piece of paper and try to rank order which one is first, which one is second, and which one is third. This is an actual practice of monitoring your well-being. All right? So, if I may, I choose doing sit-ups while watching TV as the first. And then the second is playing with the dog. And the third, I choose jog around the house. Why is this so? It's, again, it's relative. It depends on your motivation. Because I'm trying to lose weight, so and I love watching TV at the same time. So while I'm watching TV, I do the sit-ups and so on. It's really there's no wrong answer to it as long as you're able to explain your choices and it's based on your values and preferences. Now let's proceed. Okay, like we said before, in our one of our essential questions, I think it's essential question number 2. Why do we need to teach health and well-being? I think it's very important. It's very timely to teach. Actually, there's the home already provided you with health. Your parents gave you health, your genetics, the environment, but we direly need to teach or reteach, relearn, enhance teaching health and well-being because of the following factors. We all know that because of COVID, it has a tremendous impact on our well-being. First, we used to be physically active. Now we're less physically active because of the circumstances. We are not allowed to go out. If ever you do your physical activity in a gym, you're not able to do that. Or sometimes the environment is too hot that you're lazy to be physically active. Second, before you are limited to use screen time for 2 hours. Now, because of the circumstances, you have longer screen time. And this affects, I think, less physical activity and longer screen time are related. The more you use your gadget, the more you use your laptop, you only sit around for a couple of hours more than you extend it. Then you're just sitting down and your thumbs or fingers do will only move, but your entire body is just lethargic. Third, you used to sleep regularly 8 hours a day. Now it's irregular because it depends on the mood, the situation, the environment. Now, less physical activity, have longer screen time, irregular patterns go hand in hand. Plus, it worsens, no? Your diet is affected. Maybe the food that we buy, that we eat, are not very nutritious. So all of those four affect our health and well-being. Those four pose a challenge to our immune system. The immune system is very crucial in COVID-19. That's the only medicine, that's the only weapon that we can use against COVID-19. But because of less physical activity, longer screen time, irregular sleep patterns, and diets, we pose a challenge. It's either we get sick, or if ever we are sick, we exacerbate the condition. Worse, there's threat. COVID-19 poses threats to mental health because of the uncertainty, because of loneliness, because of isolation. We tend to think of negative thoughts. We tend to question ourselves. When will this COVID-19 end? Because we're not doing less productive. So we channel our stress, our depression into mental health. And of course, there are challenges within the families. First, financial challenge, or either you have a sick parent, sister or brother, or you have a brother or sister who is a frontliner, that poses challenges within the families. And of course, there are, according to research, there's also a threat for increased substance use because of the uncertainty, because of the physical inactivity. We resort to taking drugs, smoking, and drinking, and there's also a tendency for relapse. So all of these things affect our health and well-being. So the more that we need to cultivate, nurture our health and well-being. So again, as I said before, I prepared another activity to check on your health and well-being. I hope you participate on this next activity. Now it's called values voting. Okay, there are a series of questions there. It affirms. If you do this, you just raise your thumbs up. If you don't do this, thumbs down. Are we ready now? All right. Have 8 hours of sleep daily. Okay. Have 5 servings of fruits of vegetables daily. Do you engage or do 1 hour of exercise daily? Do you drink 8 glasses of water daily? What about, do you have 2 hours of screen time? I'll be guilty about this. And have 0 servings of sugary drinks and salty beverages. All right. So here you are examining your well-being. First, physical, the hours of sleep. Well, it's according to research, 8 hours of sleep is needed by the body to rejuvenate. What about 5 servings of fruits and vegetables? This is in the Pinggang Pinoy. This is the amount that our body needs, micronutrients that we need. What about exercise? Actually, WHO has this recommendation, which is called Let's Be Active, Move More. It actually tells us to move more, at least 20 minutes, or take a break, take 3 to 5 minute break, just to stand up, move your body to what? To ease the tense that we're feeling. And of course, after those minutes of break, our brain will rejuvenate for about 45 more minutes. All right. What about drinking 8 glasses of water? This is in relation to the kidneys. We drink water. It's supposed to be when we drink water, the amount is to cleanse our body. Or it depends. If you're thirsty, you can drink, but it depends on, it's by case basis. But if you have kidney problems, it's a different story. What about 2 hours of screen time? There's a study also, a research done that because of excessive screen time usage, it was called screen dependency disorder among children. You turn off the light before you don't sleep and just look at your cell phone, watch a movie, play with your cell phone, or do some social networking or emailing. It becomes addictive and it affects the whole being. And of course, it's necessary to avoid sugary and salty beverages and drinks. It affects your immune system. All right. Let's proceed to the other. So after knowing why we need to teach health and well-being, how do we do it? So let's learn more about the foundation of health and well-being. What is its philosophy? What are the characteristics? What are the theories behind, and what are the goals? We need this for us to cultivate health and well-being at home, at work. So we need to understand the following. First, philosophy, it's humanistic in theme. We value human life, so we increase risk factors and uh, we increase protective factors, we decrease risk factors in order to survive, to protect and promote our lives. It's pragmatic in tone because it's practical, experiential, and functional. So later on, in the last slides or in the last discussion, since it's incorporating health and well-being in schools and at home, this is very practical. Health is practical and very personal. Practical in a sense, we do skills to protect ourselves, like washing of hands, taking a bath, brushing our teeth, cleaning the surrounding, exercising. Those are the things that protect ourselves. They are very practical and developmental, and it's lifelong. And we need them to protect ourselves. It's holistic because, going back to the definition of health, and well-being, we need all of those dimensions for us to function well, to work well, to feel better. We know, and for survival purposes. So each one of us has health and well-being. It's just a matter of factors on how to protect ourselves. And of course, at the end of it all is wellness. How your ability to take care of ourselves. And it is affected by the social determinants of health. And what are these? Education, um, parental guidance, financial, environmental. Those affect our wellness. It's the quality of life. So health and well-being is for human life. It's practical, it's holistic, and its end goal is to unify so that we can be productive and functional citizens. Aside from the philosophy, here is a framework of health education from DepEd. So the first circles that I shown you, these are the content areas. These are these are the things that we focus on when we teach health and well-being: growth and development, personal health, nutrition, substance use and abuse, family health, disease prevention and control, injury prevention and safety, consumer health, community environmental health. Going back, these are the essential learnings, content that we need to teach at home also. Growth and development simply means the personal health. As we grow older, our bodies changes, so parents need to monitor their children. Personal health, it's the hygiene, the physical exercise. We need them to have a good well-being. Nutrition, these are the things that we eat, the how food insecurity, substance use and abuse. These are the things that we need to prevent from happening. Family health, it's bonding with the family, keeping a healthy relationship with the family. Of course, this is very tiny. This is prevention and control. There are a number of cases of COVID increases, we need to focus on how to prevent and control transmission of COVID-19. Of course, injury prevention and safety. Accidents do happen, but we can minimize or mitigate those accident and injury from happening by having safety culture, practicing or having skills to protect ourselves, and of course, consumer health. We are now bombarded with fake news. How do we evaluate materials? How do we buy and evaluate products? And of course, community and environmental health. So COVID-19, it's a public health crisis wherein the community needs to get together. How will the community respond? How will the community help in decreasing the number of cases? And of course, environmental health. We all know for a fact that the virus is parasitic in nature. It only comes alive or comes into contact when it is in one of the host's body. So we need to take care of the environment. Physical and social distancing are examples of mitigating COVID-19. Now, this one, it's the goal of health and well-being. For us to achieve these things, our approach should be holistic. It should be preventive. It should be learner-centered, rights-based, epidemiological, standard and outcomes-based, culture-responsive, health and life skills-based, and of course, values-based. These are the characteristics of health and well-being. How do we do this? These are the characteristics. In teaching health and well-being, it should be holistic, meaning all the aspects of physical, the emotional are being taken care of. Preventive, of course, prevention, from the word preventive, we don't allow things to happen. We protect, that's why we need to increase our protective factors. It should be learner-centered. What are the needs of your child or your student? It's relative. Rights-based should be, if a person doesn't want to, it's in medical practice, if someone doesn't want to be given a medicine, then the doctors will have to abide by the rights of the patient. Or another example would be the right not to revive. So, and the right to access equal and health services. Epidemiological, this is the study of COVID-19, the number of cases, the interplay, the cycle, is it flattening already? It explains. Of course, the Sanders outcome base, this is the what are the things that a person should have, the skills to possess for him or her to be healthy and his well-being or her well-being is good. Culture responsive, it caters to the uniqueness of a culture. We need to health and well-being is are no? We need to respond to this. And of course, we need health and life skills base for the promotion and achievement and to sustain lifelong wellness. And of course, values can come into play. Not just like the exercise or the activity that I gave you, those are values-based activities wherein you examine your values before deciding to do an appropriate or inappropriate thing. Of course, health is it's psychological. It starts with the student and his or her own health, family health, hence to community and environmental health. It's developmental. So later on, I'll discuss that for each age group, there are a set of learning, most essential learning competencies for the child to master, for him or her to be healthy, and his or her own well-being are good. Now it's continuous and spiraling because it levels up. The content, discussion strategy levels up and it changes across border. And of course, the theories we need in cultivating health and well-being are the following: cognitive. We tap on the knowledge. What kind of knowledge do we give the students? Of course, they they need to discover on their own. They make sense of their experience that we teach them and construct and generate the ideas on their own. It's observing and modeling behavior and attitude of others. This greatly affects the health and well-being of a person. Of course, health is based on behavior. Health belief model is an example. If you don't believe that you're doing a bad thing, you'll continue doing it until you experience, you get sick, you get out of context, or you go out of, you don't feel well, then you just stop doing that behavior. But it's up to you. No? So behavior predicts your values, your decision. For as long as you don't believe that you're doing a bad thing, you continue doing that. Of course, the will of well-being. These are the things for us to be uh, to to be well. Our body needs to be active. Our mind should keep on learning. And spirituality we give, we help, we connect with people, we place the place we take notice of the environment and then to take care of that. And of course, to take care of the planet. This will represent spokes that we need to sustain our well-being. If one of them, if one of them, we do not address one of them, then we cannot have a complete well-being. So we need this to cultivate among our children and among our students. Of course, well-being has the following purposes. Of course, when your body is intact, all of your other um, health dimensions are good, then you are healthy, you stay safe, you enjoy and you achieve, and you make a positive contribution in economic well-being. So that is why we need to cultivate health and well-being among the young, among our students and children. And another one, in this wheel of well-being is predicted. Your well-being is predicted by the following: your fun, if you do with fun and recreation, if your health is good, you have enough money, you have love, you have friends and family who support you, your physical environment is safe and secure, you have good grades, and your personal growth is developing well, then you have a complete well-being. These are the predictors. They affect your well-being. Of course, after going through the different concepts, now let's try to relate that because our webinar is all about incorporating, um, cultivating health and well-being at home. So there's a shift in order now. There's a shift in the roles. The teachers are now the coaches. They coach the parents how to teach or deliver health and well-being at home. So for now, I know the teachers already know this, but it's totally different because health is a health and well-being. You're going to teach that. But if you're a science teacher, you can integrate that. If you're a math teacher, you can integrate that. Social studies teacher, science teacher, you can integrate health and well-being. So you're not only teaching your subject area, but there's an add-on. You're teaching health and well-being to your students. And now you're teaching them to the family. So there's a sudden shift because of the current situation. There are lots of online training and so on and so forth. But it's very important to cultivate health and well-being. So the teacher now are the coaches. No, the students are the parents who will enable. They are the partners, the parents who will enable health and well-being in their homes. So before that, the parents should know the following. Okay? We need to acquire knowledge. What kind of knowledge do we teach when it comes to health and well-being? Well, of course, acquire knowledge that will lead to sound decision making and informed choices. We need to reinforce and promote positive attitudes. And how do we do that? By acquiring skills that promote behavior for health and injury prevention. Going back, let's relate to the life skills. So when you teach specifically health, it's practical. When we go back to the philosophy, it's practical. But although it's practical, there are factors that affect knowledge. Well, people know that it's bad to drink Coke, eat sugary and salty food, but although they know the effects, they still do it. That's the attitude. So how will we correct that? How will we decrease the risk factor and increase the protective factors? By using the life skills approach. So parents and the teacher should coach the parents on how to teach, what to teach, and why to teach. Um, Health and well-being at home. Of course, the parents and teachers should also focus on why it's relevant. What is health education? It's an organized, relevant, and sequential, preventive, culture, responsive, values-driven process. What are the strategies? Aside from well-being, cultivating, it should be student-based, experiential, eclectic, dynamic. Now it's in the home. No? The parents are the teachers already. They're going to expand or enhance health and well-being in their homes. How will they do that? Why do they need to teach? One, to develop life skills that promote health literacy. Two, maintain and improve health. Three, of course, prevent disease. And fourth, no, reduce health-related risk behavior. So how do we explain this? These are the qualities needed to cultivate health and well-being. So we need to explain this to the parents. The teacher should coach the parents. Why? Okay. It's because we need to improve the health. We need to prevent the disease and reduce health-related behavior. Once the parents know this, now they can easily teach their children at home. Another aspect is when we teach, when we cultivate health and well-being at home, we need to change and develop risk factors and inappropriate behaviors by giving knowledge, choices. Attitude should be positive and practices should be monitored for them to be able to carry out the behavior. Okay? So parents should know this, that they're teaching not only knowledge, attitude, and practices, but they're changing the behavior. Just imagine a special child who has SI issue using or wearing the mask. How will you change the behavior? How will you let the child use the mask even if that child has SI issue? Or even if I'm allergic to mask, how will I change my behavior? Or if I go in a diet, what knowledge should I have? What attitude and practices for me to have a good body? So it's an interplay. Giving it enough, sufficient knowledge, building, developing positive attitude will be equivalent to you practice. If you have enough knowledge and if you believe in that knowledge, you'll be able to practice and then change your behavior. Changing the behavior, you live a healthier life and you practice health literacy. Health literacy means the functional, the interactive, and critical. You become critical of the knowledge that you get before you use it, before you accept it, before you have a positive attitude, then you practice it, then change your behavior. So I think parents should, when they teach or when they cultivate health and well-being at home, they should be aware of the following. That learning comes from experiential experiences, and they give meaning. Not only just telling the child, just wear your mask, just wash your hands. We need to explain the value of doing those things for them to realize the importance and that it's needed to prevent COVID-19, the spread of COVID-19, and to prevent from infecting or getting sick of COVID. So let's concretize. Let's just not say, do this, do that. No, we have to explain, we have to model for them to accept or change their behavior and to learn better. All right, so this comes, the next part of the webinar is what? Putting all of these things together. How will we teach, cultivate health and well-being after knowing what health and well-being is? What are the contents of health education or health and well-being? How do we teach them? Now, let's organize. The context is helping cultivating health and well-being at home. First, the parents should do needs assessment. What is this? They should monitor their child's health by what? If they're sick, if they're using tools to monitor their health, or just simply asking them, how do you feel? Then observing them of their health practices at home and then jotting down this is the most, and this is the health concern that we need to address at home, and so on and so forth. The goal setting, how will you address that? What are you going to do? What is your objective? Again, let's go back to protective and risk factors. We need to increase the protective factors, decrease the risk factors. Again, how do you do that? It's what do you want the child to do? Hmm? Of course, you supplement it with the correct instructional framework or strategy. Instead of just saying, this is what you do, this, don't do that. You model it, you explain it. There are different ways of modeling and explaining. You, instruction materials will help do that. Some of us are visual learners, kinesthetic learners. You tap on that and make it relatable to them. Of course, we need to assess. With health, there are several assessments that we take up later. How do we assess a skill? How do we assess knowledge? How do we assess attitude? There are different ways of assessing, checking on what they have learned. And of course, after doing all of these things, you write in a lesson plan at home. But for the home, I think home lesson is more appropriate so that the parents are not stressed in teaching their children. It's more fun. Teaching health and well-being should not be stressful, but it should be experiential. It should be life-changing. So you think of different ways based on their needs, the goals that you set for them, what they you have clear objectives on what they do. You have the right strategy for them to do the perform the objective. You have the right materials for them to understand, for them to accept, and for them to change. And of course, you have the right assessment. Assessment is aligned with the goal, the needs assessment, the instructional strategy, and then materials. So in cultivating and teaching health and well-being, it should be harmonious from the needs assessment until the learning assessment. So I'm going to give you examples. So before that, I'll present to you, this is a common where health is just a part of the curriculum. Now, because of COVID, we need to intensify teaching health and well-being, whether in school or at home. We need health and well-being. Our basis for teaching is the following. Here, the K to 3, the grades 4 to 6, and grades 7 to 10. These are the things that a learner should demonstrate according to his age, level, and according to grade level. So, in teaching, cultivating health and well-being, this is your one of your bases for teaching. Right? You get your content from here, and you get the objectives from there, and of course, match it with the appropriate strategy and evaluation. Now, I like to explain also this model. When we teach, cultivate health and well-being, we need people. So aside from the teacher, again, the teacher now is the coach. She'll be coaching the parents. So she needs to simplify the lessons for the parents to translate the lessons at home. So involve every member of the family. Set realistic goals. What health problem should we address? What are the plans to help address the health problem? What activities would help address the problem and would be aligned with the goals and that people involved can carry out without much stress, and of course evaluate the results. Now, it's difficult, but because parents are don't have the capacity, where they have the capacity but they don't have the competencies. Now we're teaching them. That's the shift in education now. Home-based learning, that we need to teach the parents how to teach their children about health and well-being. Now, after all of these things, we design the materials, because materials are education resource. They deliver delivery vehicles that improve students' knowledge, gives color to the learning process, and decide whether you adapt the whole thing, you develop your own material, or change, modify the material. There are a lot of materials online that parents can use about health and well-being. It's a matter of adapting, a matter of aligning to their children's needs. So materials is very important in giving knowledge, choices, informed choices, in what? Building positive attitude, and of course, developing appropriate practices and skills. So it depends on, again, let's go back there. It depends on the needs assessment. Although we have MELCs, the most um, learning outcomes, most essential learning competencies to think of. But when you do home-based learning, it becomes individual in a sense. It depends on the the health needs of your child. So that would be a challenge for parents and teachers. Now, after doing all those things, preparing the lesson, crafting the objectives, preparing the material, teaching, now comes the assessment of learning. How much did my child learn from me? So it's reliable, meaning you can use the same test over and over again without affecting the result. Valid, you're supposed to measure what it's supposed to measure. Flexible in a sense, it depends on the needs of the child, what kind of learner he or she. Are you going to check for competency? Did the child get all the competencies? Or you will check for proficiency, whether the child did it properly with minimum errors, or mastery without any prompts. So in teaching health and wellness and well-being, it varies. It's relative on the content, the objective, and the material. All right. Now, after checking, now there are different ways of assessing health. This is one example: health behavior inventory. There are lots of materials in the internet for this. It is basically what? An inventory. It's a checklist of the things or health practices the child supposed to do, or a person. Did I make 9,000 steps? Put a check. Or did I sleep 8 hours? No, it's self-monitoring. It's inventory. That is what health and well-being is all about. You capacitate the child to monitor his own health by checking, by using a health inventory. And another one is letting the child, this one, expressive or communication skill. For example, is in mental health pain. How would you ask? Oh, how do you feel? Can you rate how you feel today? Then the child will do that. So this is an example of health assessment. Now going back, teacher, the process of health and well-being delivery. It's a process. It's systematic. Again, its materials are relevant and evidence-based, and of course dynamic, because you're teaching from home. So the students or the children are their tendency is not to listen to you. So you have to orchestrate the environment for them to listen to you. make it more relatable, fun at the same time they learn, because the challenge is you're translating health and well-being lesson at home. Okay, again, let's take a break. It's lazy eight. Raise your right hand, and then you just, in the air, you just draw number eight. And then with your left, the other hand, you draw number eight and do both. Using both hands, you draw number eight 3 times. So this is a way of what? Another way of increasing or cultivating health and well-being at home by giving brain and health breaks. Now, can you do this with me? Crisscross jump. You stand and then you jump and then cross your leg and then do it again 3 times. So this is sort of what? Because of the long hours that a child, because it's homeschooled and it's everything is online learning, we need to cultivate their health and well-being by giving health and brain breaks once in a while. So we schedule that so that they're not lazy or lethargic, and we prevent other disorders to transpire, like sitting disorder and other things. Okay, now it's a time to carry out important practical lessons. If you notice, I align this with the problems or the impact of COVID-19 on our health and well-being. So given you already know the process of doing things, creating a lesson plan, a home lesson for your child now, these are the things that I would like to share with you. So since we have this problem with sleeping or less sleep or sleeping very late, how will you address that's the health issue? Now, what skill would you develop? Let's find out. So the content is here. So it's developmental. Sleep needs by age, and these are the counter hours of sleep that we need. Now, how do you do this? So needs assessment, you monitor your child's sleep. And then next step, you're not going to tell him directly, you're going to explain. If I sleep this late, this would happen to me. Oh, anak, look at the time that you sleep, the hours of you sleep, and then counter check with it with the correct amount of hours you need to sleep. So the child will process by himself. If you sleep like this late, what will happen to you? How do you feel? So that's life skills, communication, decision making, and problem solving, and awareness. You're teaching all of them. You're to the child without the child even noticing it that you're teaching him already. Next is the next problem with COVID is less physical activity. So you give options. That's health and well-being. We give options. We don't demand, we don't force, no coercion. Just give options when you cultivate for health and well-being. So there are 4 steps to a happier physical activity or exercise. Focus on the feel-good activity. So you give options. You observe your child. Oh, he's good in basketball. So he's going to play basketball. Oh, he loves to run. So he runs. Or give him an exercise body. You exercise together and try different things. These are all positive. No? You provide your child with options. Alright? For him to imbibe a physical activity, it becomes a routine for him. Next is, well, because of COVID, our nutrition is affected. So how will you teach the child to choose food properly? So by making nutrition come alive. So here's example on how to teach children proper nutrition. It's the Pinggang Pinoy. If you notice, it's developmental. We need different amounts of calories for different ages and different sexes. So basically, you just put on the plate, o anak, you guide him. Just aside from what is good for you, what is grow, grow, and grow, he needs to apply that. Decision making, again, communication, self-awareness. Well, you can try healthy food tasting parties at home, or nutrition sentence stems, or your personal food pyramid to check on their nutrition level, or you can teach proper nutrition by doing a food puppet show. So there are endless ways to entice your students, your children with, or in cultivating health and well-being in terms of nutrition. So I just flash this. These are the strategies. Now for the important lesson, home lesson is to teach prevent disease the engaging way. Okay. Where the concept that you're going to teach is the chain of infection. There are 6 elements there. It explains how we get sick or how we infect others also. I think this has been discussed yesterday in the safety, creating a safe place at home. Of course, you also teach them the skill, the knowledge, and how to break the chain of infection. So you reiterate wearing of masks, washing hands, social and physical distancing. Actually, one element, if you break one element, you already break the chain of infection. So how do you do this? Aside from IEC material, you can have the following: decontamination exercise, human chain of infection, my family's disease, prevention management plan, and documentary film video clip. So it depends on the age group. So you're cultivating health and well-being already by choosing, identifying the health need, the health concern. What is your aim? Of course, to increase protective factors and decrease risk factors. And then what skills will you use to do that? Or you can have puzzles and games. These are ways of cultivating health and well-being. So quickly, those are just the steps and purposes. Now, with COVID in our selection earlier, in our listing of how COVID affects us, it affects our mental and social and emotional being. So here in this game, for example, your child he's going to communicate the feelings. So you use this M&M feelings game for him to readily express his feelings or decision making or problem solving. If I'm angry, I will do this. So it's a representation of a dice. So when he rolls a dice or say something, for every one in the dice, say one thing that makes you angry. So your miscommunication skills is developed as well as his problem solving skills. Or another thing is, again, problem solving. What can I do when I'm angry or when somebody's angry at me? These are the things that the child can do. So it is presented in a very relatable and fun way that the child barely remembers or feels that he's being taught or you're teaching him already. And of course, because of our situation, there's also research would say that there is relapse. There's a tendency to relapse and there's a tendency to increase drug use. So what are you going to do? Well, the life skill that is very important is to teach the child to say no. Refusal skills. You may say no in a firm voice, or you may tell why not, or offer other ideas or promptly leave. Now, to address family health matters, you can have a time where you can do this family safety circles, wherein the child is in the middle, the yellow is the child, the green one is the child the child who needs more or who helps the child most, and then the orange is who knows a little about the child, and then the blue one outer, the bigger circle, is the child doesn't know, the who knows nothing about the child. So this is an example of what safety skills to develop. Or a family could bond together for team building. So these are some examples of cultivating health and well-being at home in response to COVID and the effects of COVID, the impact of COVID on our health and well-being. So by cultivating, you should live it also. So this is the 5210 equals 8 principle. Actually, this is adopted from the American Heart Society, Cardio Society. It stipulates that for us to be well, we need 5 servings of vegetables a day, 2 hours screen time, but now it's difficult, but it can be done, and 1 hour physical activity or exercise, and then no sugary and salty food for us to live longer. So cultivating is living it. Health and well-being, you should practice it. And of course, you need 8 hours of sleep. Of course, keep up the 12 noon habit. Self-check. This is in cognizance with COVID-19. So you let the child check himself. Every 12 noon, oh, do I have this? Did I wash my hands? Did I wear my mask? Or did I practice physical and social distancing? Those are the things that we do to cultivate health and well-being, because health is already there. Situation, we need to enhance more of health and well-being. To sum up, when you teach a child, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. That is what cultivating health and well-being is. You involve the child. You give opportunities for him to grow, to develop, to make choices, rather than just telling him what to do. And of course, lead the way as parents, as teachers. What you learn, you will do and then teach to others. And by cultivating health and well-being, you need to study also. These are some of the references that you can check online. And importantly, teach health and well-being from the heart. It will be worth your while. Thank you very much. And let us huddle up and beat COVID-19 together through cultivating health and well-being practices. Thank you. Oh, okay. There's a question from Eden Santos. Why is it easy for us, or we know how to eliminate risk, but still we continue to do things that physically affects our well-being? It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of attitude. Well, I read this article. we become lenient. We just we don't we get tired already of the things that are happening to us. So we revert. Instead of doing what's better, we just ignore things, and it's values based. So it's really an attitude problem. No matter how much we give the correct information, it's still up to the person. I hope I answered your question, Miss Eden. From Miss Chelin, if students should have only 2 hours of screen time, what about teachers? How many hours we must have also to protect our health? The same goes for teachers. We really need to be disciplined in terms of the use of screen time. It is, effects are exacerbated where in which when we're already sick or we have immunocompromised, then we sleep very late and we increase the use of screen time. That it's a big problem because we do for now we're going online virtual, so there's no choice for us, but we can discipline ourselves. Again, if you think of your health and well-being, you discipline yourself. For me, I already discipline myself. I set my goals. Goal setting is very important. So I need to finish this in 2 hours. So I finish this in 2 hours. Basically, again, it's up to you. So you need, behavior management is also the key. So if you do this, you have this. If you do this, this is how you're going to feel. So you choose. All right. From Al Cameron Avila, what is the drawback of spiraling the curriculum as regards to students' cognitive well-being? Mm, drawback of spiraling. Well, for me, I firmly believe that in, in health, it should be individualized. You target what the students need. You cannot achieve, we talked about achieving well-being and wellness. It's very difficult because of certain factors, attitude, behavior. So it's really, you cannot attain well-being if you continue to practice inappropriate health behavior. So again, for me, it's individualized and in case by case basis. From Edna Namoro, what are the different best practices can you share in conducting physical activities in physical education? Thank you po. Well, I'm not a physical education major, but I'll try to answer your question, Mr. Namoro. Best practices. Again, I mentioned it already. It's based on your preference and interest. We should not force physical activities if we don't. And I think the problem also is the motivation. Why do you exercise? Why do you need to be physically active? What is your motivation? So you start from the motivation. I know physical education is prescribed already in schools, but the motivation. If you understand, you know what you want to do, then it's okay. So I guess it's the motivation part. From Elsa Tahun, how to practice and change into a positive behavior if distance is a hindrance? Good question. How to practice and change. Practice and change into a positive behavior if distance is a hindrance. Um, mm, Practice and change into positive. Miss Elsa, what do you mean by how how to practice and change into a positive behavior if distance is a hindrance? I'm trying to understand your question. Um, well, in behavior change, it's up to the person. Maybe you're saying um, you want to change a behavior of a child. Well, there's a way. Well, visual cues might help. And what kind of behavior would you want to change? Change into positive behavior. For example, I'm just guessing here that you're you're not with your child or you're not with your family. And how do you change the behavior of child? Well, again, there's visual cues. Monitoring will do, will help change the positive behavior. Modeling, constant reminding will help, even if you're far away from your child. So those are the things that I think reminding constantly, monitoring constantly, or and you can say, if and then situation works best also. If this is what you're going to do, then this is the consequence. Stay firm. We can do it virtually also. From Mylene Amarado, Mom, can we equate well-being with happiness? Yes, for as long, that's a tricky, actually when I read references about well-being, it's always correlated with happiness because happiness springs from the connectedness of all the well-being, of all the health dimensions of health. If they're all good, physical, social, emotional, mental, if they're in line or if they're attuned to each other, then you can equate happiness with well-being because it's the sum of it all. Everything is nurtured, physical, mental, social, all of them are nurtured, then you feel happy, you feel positive emotions. For me, yes, we can equate happiness. From Mr. Levy, can you please expound more on the role of teachers as coaches in promoting health and well-being at home? Well, because of the change in the shift, change in learning and teaching process, the teachers now, with this webinar, the teachers now, we help the teacher now. The teachers know what to teach, when to teach, why to teach, and prepare lessons. So they coach the parents. They prepare the lesson, they go through the lesson, they coach them what to do, how to teach, what to evaluate. So that's the coaching part there. They're telling them, they're devising ways on how the parents learn and well to teach their children at home with regards to health and well-being. So they prepare the lesson, that's the first role. Second, they communicate with the parents, they monitor, so that's coaching. You're preparing the parents with knowledge, with skills and attitudes to translate health well-being lessons from school to their homes. I, are there any more questions? My apology earlier for the technical difficulty that I had, so I wasn't able to explain the other slides. So there's a chat here. So I think I answered all the questions. I hope I answered them. If you have any questions, you can email it to me, then I can respond to them. Or if any needs, other needs regarding health and well-being, you can contact me through my email or through Rex. Thank you very much and have a safe and pleasant day, everyone. Thank you very much.